Welcome back, everyone. We are still in the Becoming a BS Artist series, where we're learning the fine art of using behavioral science tools to motivate action. So far, we have covered feedback loops and choice architecture. Today, we're covering the BS tool of scarcity. Scarcity has its roots in basic economics. When the demand for a product or opportunity is greater than the supply, the value of and desire for that item increases. Often this happens organically, like when supply chains get disrupted and we can't get the items we want, like when the Suez Canal got blocked, or when there are capacity constraints for very popular items, like trying to get a ticket to a Taylor Swift concert. As a behavioral science tool, scarcity can be used as a marketing method to create a sense of urgency and demand for something that is limited in quantity or has a deadline. Unfortunately, many businesses use scarcity in ways that stress us out and are borderline unethical. Have you tried booking a hotel room or airline reservation recently? If yes, you likely encountered a flurry of scarcity tactics thrown at you. Things that tell you how many other people are looking at that room right now, how many people have purchased that ticket in the last hour, how many seats on that airplane are left, and so much more. Yuck. No one wants to feel this kind of stress or pressure when trying to complete an action. So this edition of BS Artistry will guide us through using scarcity in ethical ways that motivate action without stressing out our audiences. But I do want to make a note here that I'm not covering the topic of mental scarcity. That describes moments when a lack of brain power or mental bandwidth makes it hard to solve problems, to reason, or to retain information. There's an amazing book out there called Scarcity that touches really on this topic of mental scarcity and how it can affect even our behavior change projects. But I won't be talking about that topic today. So we should first explore if scarcity would be a good fit for your project. And it might be if you offer an item or experience that meets one or more of the following criteria. The offer is time limited, meaning it is not available after a specific date. This category can include live webinars and courses with registration deadlines, or matching fund drives where people must donate by a deadline to unlock those matching funds. Another criteria is that your item is supply limited. So a one-time order was produced and additional items will not be made available. In 2023, the Red Cross gave out Snoopy shirts to anyone who donated while supplies last. This really drove a lot of attendance to people to donate blood, which they had to do in order to receive the t-shirt. I wrote more about the Snoopy t-shirt in a post earlier this year on offering rewards to audience members as part of the Terms of Engagement series, if you want to check that out. The experience you're offering should be access limited, so a limited number of spots to an event are available. This may apply to a workshop you're hosting with limited spots or tickets you sell to a special event. I don't know if you're aware of them already, but there's an organization called Global Citizen, and they tap into access limited and time limited scarcity by offering ticket raffles for members who earn points by completing environmental actions. And the last criteria to consider is that maybe the item or experience you're offering is rare. So that means the offer is unique and uncommon, like the chance to meet a celebrity or bid on an extremely rare item during a silent auction. If the product you are offering or the experience you're offering does not meet any of the above criteria, so it's not time limited, supply limited, access limited, or rare, then consider if you could increase the scarcity by limiting its availability, within ethical reason, of course. So for example, you can create time-limited registration periods for on-demand courses instead of making them available for purchase just all year round. That will actually drive up the interest and the attention for your courses by doing it in a time-limited fashion. But please, scarcity should not be used to gatekeep important resources and experiences. These techniques are meant for low-stakes events, like producing a limited edition t-shirt. Let's add a hint of behavioral psychology to the mix to see why scarcity works. Well, the short answer is FOMO, fear of missing out. When there is a limited supply, it feels like something we must have. Interestingly, this holds true even when we perceive something as scarce, regardless of whether it's explicitly promoted as a limited item or experience. The home goods store, TJ Maxx, sometimes also known as Home Goods, taps into perceived scarcity by stocking small amounts of random, unusual pantry items in its food aisles, which actually makes shoppers feel like they've discovered a rare find. And it means they're more likely to buy something from that shelf. Feeling a sense of achievement for quote unquote winning a limited item or experience is another reason why the scarcity method works. It feels really good to those who get the prize. It can even reinforce the audience's sense of belonging with your cause and community of support, which is an excellent way to keep your audience members engaged for the long run. So if you're thinking about using scarcity, here is what you need to get started. There are 4 essential items. First, you have to have a special item or unique experience that you want people to buy or register for. So this can include, but certainly is not limited to, webinars, workshops, courses, events, swag, memberships, field trips, conferences, and more. Related to that, you should have a real and relevant scarcity aspect of those items or experiences. That means it is truly time limited, supply limited, access limited, or rare. You're not faking it. You should have a way to communicate the offer to audience members and provide regular updates on availability, even if that essentially just means social media. And it's super helpful to have real-time tracking of purchases and registrations to know when those sales limits are reached or when time limits expire. Ideally, this process gets automated so the purchasing window closes when supplies or time have run out. Now, how would you actually go about implementing scarcity? Well, it's kind of like using a glue gun, but a lot harder. Let's get into the details. First, you want to be specific and clear about what is limited. So instead of simply telling the audience that, time is running out, be clear about which factors are scarce. If the offer is time limited, be clear on the deadline. If supply is limited, be upfront about how many items are available. We want to avoid being vague when drumming up urgency, which can unnecessarily stress out the audience. And that's what we want to avoid. I also recommend being clear about how many items or spots a person can purchase. A dark side of scarcity is that it can trigger competitiveness, leading to resource grabs. Remember those toilet paper hoarders during the COVID-19 pandemic? It can sometimes look a little like that. So setting clear purchase limits at the start can prevent this from happening. Next, create equitable pathways to access. So if you offer something with a price tag that is limited in supply or access, consider how to make the offer available to those with less financial resources. This could involve putting aside a selection of seats or items to be offered at lower prices or for free. For example, conferences typically provide a set of scholarships to cover the cost of registration fees to make the event more accessible to everyone. Next, promote the benefits more than the scarcity. When promoting the product or experience, focus on the unique benefits the audience receives from following through on the registration or purchase, instead of overemphasizing the scarcity of it. FOMO is most effective when the audience perceives the event or item as desirable. Therefore, we must keep the value and benefits front and center. Following that, we want to provide frequent updates. Time moves fast and people are forgetful, so you should provide frequent updates on the amount of time, seats, or supplies remaining. The FOMO reaction will likely kick in as time and supplies get low. We want to help the winners feel like winners. Sending a celebratory message to everyone who secured the item or seat helps reinforce their sense of accomplishment and belonging. Let them know that you see and appreciate their effort. And lastly, help the losers feel like winners. A downside of the scarcity approach is that most people won't get access to the item or the event. It's the nature of anything that is limited. but that doesn't mean those audience members should feel like they've missed out altogether. Consider offering a smaller kind of consolation prize for an item that's sold out, like a discount on other available items. Some research has shown the potential for consumer backlash when highly prized items sell out, these being supply limited items, and sometimes offering suitable alternatives can prevent this backlash from occurring. For time and access limited events, you can offer to share the recording or host a wait list so people can be the first in line for the next one. These runner-up gifts help keep interested participants engaged in your work beyond the one-time event that you're offering. I want to lastly share some food for thought around the scarcity of natural resources. Since all of us here are working to protect the environment, we may instinctively associate the word scarcity with the planet's natural resources. Most of us are familiar with the tragedy of the commons, which highlights how scarce resources can prompt humans to extract as much as possible until resources are depleted. Scarcity cues can, in fact, trigger competitiveness that leads to resource grabs and selfishness. However, one study has shown that people will behave generously in times of scarcity if they receive personal gains in the process. Here are two interesting excerpts from the author's findings, and the entire paper is linked in the written version of the post. So excerpt number 1. Our results offer implications for policymakers designing communications intended to promote communal behaviors in service of the greater good. For example, in contexts where scarcity-related cues are present, like times of recession or commodity shortages, communications should emphasize the personal benefits associated with contributing to the greater good, something like paying taxes, in an effort to promote compliance. For instance, paying taxes might be framed as a means to demonstrate one's economic success. As a side note, I've been saying that for quite a while now, and it's interesting to see a paper suggest it. Okay, moving on. Excerpt number 2. Marketing communications that highlight the pro-social benefits of the product, like reduced greenhouse gas emissions by driving electric cars, may be less effective than communications emphasizing the personal benefits one can accrue through purchase, like saving money at the pump. Again, that full paper is available on the written version of the post. Well, now you are really on your way to becoming a certified BS artist. Stay tuned for the final post coming up in 2 weeks from now on using behavioral science tools to motivate action. Thank you for listening. Take care.